A bloody crackdown on protesters in downtown Kiev and rallies in Crimea. One demonstration was in favour of closer ties with the EU, while the other, in the Black Sea region, was in favour of joining Russia. That's how the deputy head of the Mejlis, Akhtem Chiygoz, remembers events unfolding in late February 2014. Ukrainian and Crimean Tatar activists staged rallies in front of the local administrative building in an effort to block the city council from voting to become part of Russia. Closer to the 26th of February, the head of Crimea, Standoff, had already visited Moscow a couple of times. Those were on local levels, but it looked like Crimea was negotiating with Russia. They still didn't recognise the actions of the opposition and don't want any Euro integration. They see their future with Russia. On February the 25th, a group of pro-Russian activists staged a protest near the local parliament in Crimea's capital of Simferopol. They were addressed by the head of the Crimean Parliament, Volodymyr Konstantinov. Pro-Russian forces gave Crimean MPs an ultimatum. If they don't vote in favour of becoming a part of Russia on the 26th, pro-Russian forces will capture the parliamentary building. I called Rafat Chubarov, the chairman of the Crimean Tatar people, and asked him what we should do. He said, "Let me think about it." And our conversation ended. We watched what happened next. Members of the Crimean Tatar main representative body, the Mejlis, announced that they would protest in front of the parliament against the Black Sea Peninsula breaking away from Ukraine. In the morning of the 26th, when I was with a group from Bakhchisarai, we were driving in a column. There were thousands of people. In the courtyard of the parliament, there was a group of police officers and militia. They were together. There were pro-Russian people who were called there. On the one side, people were shouting, "Crimea is Russia." But on the other side, which was larger and more powerful, people were shouting, "Crimea is Ukraine." Among those who took action in support of Crimea staying as a part of Ukraine was 25-year-old Crimean Mustafa Dekhomenji, also his sister Mevil and their father Bakir Dekhomenji. He taught them to always hold an active civil position and fight for their rights. I often hear that everything happened when they brought people from Sevastopol. They were provocateurs. Of course, when so many people gather in one place, they start shouting and insulting each other. Maybe there were some clashes. The head of the Mejlis, Rafat Chubarov, demanded that the Speaker of the Parliament cancel the session in order to avoid clashes. By noon, at the door of the administrative building, there were more than 20,000 protesters who supported Ukraine and 4,000 of those who were in support of joining Russia. They were separated by a line of policemen. That parliament session never happened. On February the 27th, armed men dressed in unmarked uniforms seized the parliament and the cabinet of ministers' buildings. 3 weeks later, Moscow claimed Crimea to be Russian territory. Akhtem Chiygoz, Ali Asanov, Mustafa Dekhomenji and another 5 Crimean Tatar activists were charged with organising mass riots against the Black Sea Peninsula joining Russia. My brother was driving to work. Police vans blocked his way. Fully equipped Russian police officers got out of their vans, put him on the ground and started accusing him. Our mother was with him and asked why they were doing it. They said he was a prisoner. She asked what he was accused of. They said he attempted to kill Russian citizens. But if you think logically, back then, that was Ukraine. There was no Russia there. Akhtem Chiygoz was set free after Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan intervened in the negotiations over his release with the Kremlin. The cases of another 7 Crimean Tatars are still being investigated. The international community has denounced Russia for illegally seizing Ukraine's Black Sea Peninsula and imposed crippling economic sanctions. The resolutions condemning Russia's actions in Ukraine have been adopted by the UN, PACE, the OSCE and the European Parliament.